And read a problem that says 10 milligrams of potassium um, given PO to a patient daily. We'll have an option reading the same 10 milligrams of potassium given PO to a patient daily, but we're going to divide it into equal portions. And then we're going to have our third case of 10 milligrams of potassium given PO twice a day. What we're going to do, we're going to read it backwards. We're going to reason with this. We're going to say, hey, every single day, my patient is going to see 10 milligrams of potassium. That means that the nurse in her hand will only have 10 milligrams of potassium. She's going to knock on the door and say, hey, I have 10 milligrams of potassium for you this one time today, Thursday. Now, different patient, different order. This one patient is going to see every single day 10 milligrams of potassium. However, here's a big dependent clause. We're going to divide these 10 milligrams of potassium into two equal portions. So the nurse knows that max every day she can only give the patient 10 milligrams right here. But we're going to split it. We're going to take these 10 and we're going to divide it into two. So the nurse is going to knock on the door and say, hey, I have some potassium, but this time at 7 a.m., I'm only going to give you 5 milligrams. And then I'm going to come back and at 7 p.m., I'm going to give you another 5 milligrams of potassium. That's the big difference between situation 1 and 2. However, situation 3 is a little tricky because it looks like situation 2. Now, I have a patient that every single day, we're going to read it backwards, every day, 2 times this day, my patient is going to see 10 milligrams given to him or her. So the nurse is going to knock on the door at 7 a.m. during this time, and the order says every day we give them 10 milligrams twice. So at 700 hours, we're going to give them 10 milligrams of potassium, and then again at 1900 hours, 7 p.m., we're going to give them another 10 milligrams. When you see BID, or when you see TID or QID, so you have BID, TID, or QID, that means that in a day, we're going to repeat the order. So not the order, the dose. So every single day, here, every day. How many times are we going to take a trip to the room? We're going to take a trip twice. 3 times, and then 4 times. We're going to take that trip. Now, the trip tells us, in the initial order, the amount of grams on that med. So in this case, it's 10 milligrams. Here, 10 milligrams. Here, 10 milligrams here. What is it? It's potassium. How am I going to give it to him? PO. So I have potassium PO. I have potassium PO. So every day, twice a day, I'm going to give him 10 milligrams. I'm going to give him at 7 and then at 1900. That means that the max, that the total amount of potassium that this patient is seeing is not 10, but 20. So here, same thing. It's 3 times a day. We're going to go to the room 3 times a day. The order says it's 10 milligrams PO 3 times. So every single time, you're going to take 10 milligrams with you and give it to the patient. That 10 milligram, that trip to the room is that dose, and it always will be. If daily, like we saw up here on option number 2, it says daily, we're going to take every single day, we are going to give the patient 10 milligrams. That means that the patient's body can only receive 10 milligrams of potassium that one day. However, we're going to take 2 trips, and we're going to take the 10 milligram max, and we're going to divide it into 2 trips. Each trip, after I do my math, each trip is 1 dose. What I have on my hand at 7 a.m. is that 1 dose for that patient, not the initial order. The initial order just tells you the max amount of potassium that the patient is going to have that day. Statement 3 right here tells you the max amount. It says every day the patient will every day but twice the patient will experience 10 milligrams. They will receive 10. So the max is actually 20 milligrams of potassium in this order, in this different order for this different patient. You're going to do 2 trips, but each trip will have 10 milligrams. So at 7, you do 10, and at 7 again, you do 10. I could do another video on including weight to the equation, but right now, let's just try to keep it simple. If you have any more questions, just let me know, and I'll put another video up.